All right, everybody. Come over, take a seat on the reading rug. Your favorite boys are here to give you a nighttime story that might put us to sleep at the same time. Because we're into the wee hours of
Yes, we are.
Friday morning, Thursday morning. I'm getting my days mixed up. Excuse me.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's the way it rolls. I guess maybe I should give the same little spiel.
For sure.
I mean, if the audio sounds a little weird because you guys are watching this on YouTube, or you can see there's a third person down there. They're in the dark right now.
Yeah. It's our producer.
So that's also me. So there's two of me in here. So basically, I'm home right now, as you can tell. The white woman decor in the background. This is my mommy's office.
Mm-hmm.
I am leaving in the morning with a group of friends to go on a trip to Tennessee for the weekend, and then I'll be back here Sunday, spend the night here again. I packed very light outside of what I needed for my trip. So because of that, I only brought my laptop and charger home in order to do our episodes we needed to do while I'm here. Without, and I've done recordings without my mic before, and they usually sound fine. So I was like, okay, I won't bring the mic because it's
big and bulky.
Yeah, I've packed everything in a backpack. I mean, it was filled to the brim, Dom.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize in my over 90 episodes, because if you count the Nosebleeds, a hefty amount of episodes that we've done on video, I have had one constant. And that's those big old Beat Studio headphones that I wear every episode. And I didn't realize, Dominic, that held the key. That was the glue.
Yes.
That kept this show together. Because without those headphones, it was unbearable. Dominic was hearing himself through my screen. I was all staticky. It was a mess, people.
Oh, yeah. Chaos.
I'm not. I put these on.
You did.
Had me looking like I'm working the night shift.
Mm-hmm.
However, we were able to, it's kind of like when you had one of those beater cars when you first started driving. And at least this is what my dad would do. And something would get fucked up on it. And he's like, I got some duct tape. Hold on 1 second.
Amen.
So my phone is sitting here right next to, I will try not to touch it so Dominic's ears do not burst. But it's sitting right next to my laptop. You are seeing me on my laptop per usual. However, I have muted the audio on my laptop. So I am muted on here. And also I have muted Dom on here.
True.
My phone is that little fella on the bottom.
Right. Who's just, casually promoting our social.
So that way I can hear Dominic, and I can also talk into my phone. So audio may not sound perfect, but honestly, it's a pretty good compromise. I mean,
we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, you should have seen some of the wacky shit we were going to do before this. I mean, Dominic was going to be recording doing a handstand. I was going to be like...
There was going to be a cartoon of Noah.
I was going to be doing that Jim Carrey bit in Ace Ventura where he talks with his ass. Have you ever seen that? Have you seen that?
Thank you for all your cooperation. By the way, do you have a mint?
Where he's like, what's he?
I'm going to have to search for that clip for sure.
He like puts his ass in the guy's face. And he's like spreading his cheeks. He's like... Let me just ask you a question real quick. And look, man, it's funny shit. Look,
are we recording this with the loopy gas going?
Yeah. Sorry, it's late. So you guys are here for this show by below average bettors for below average bettors. It's Nosebleeds. Dominic, pull up.
I'm pulling. Let me get it.
UFC Vegas 50.
Oh, baby. This might look a little funky with 3 squares, by the way, too. But here we go.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. We're good.
All right, yeah, cool.
So a mixed bag here for sure. A lot of red, but some green.
Yeah, a little bit.
We overall did not come out positive for the week, which is really all that matters. So that it's an L, all the same. However, we are still above 9.5 units positive for the year, so we're still riding high. Dominic, your thoughts on this week? Anything that surprised you? Anything that disappointed you about your picks and really just our whole bet sheet?
Well, I still suck at parlays, as a matter of fact. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we're not getting any better there in terms of me personally. But honestly, hey, we have to talk about Terrence McKinney because listen, our boy went out there against Drew Dober, plus
Mhm.
150 odds. Noah and I were all over it the second we saw it. And damn, if he didn't make it fun, huh? I mean, he went out there, almost knocked out Drew Dober faster than he did Matt Frivola. Then they just get into this all-out war for 3 minutes, nonstop action. Terrence McKinney ends up taking the TKO loss, but damn, his stock continues to rise. Hey, we miss out on the 2 units we placed down on him, but if I'm going to lose money, I want it to be just like that right there. So Terrence McKinney, why there's a red X next to his name, damn, he went out swinging.
Yeah, I had a very emotional experience with the parlay that didn't hit, that one on the top. And Chukwi Mirzakhanov, man, I mean, I read this fight like a book. It went
You did.
exactly. I mean, I thought Mirzakhanov was going to look better. Obviously, he ends up getting a big win, highlight reel knockout, but he was kind of doing nothing for the first 2 rounds. And I didn't expect that, but I did expect the kind of pace the fight was going at.
Yeah.
However, I could not have been more wrong about Chris Moutinho and Guido Canetti. I mean, over 2.5 rounds. This shit didn't even take half a round.
Yeah, true.
Guido Canetti, man, just throwing fucking bombs. Overestimated Chris Moutinho's chin. And obviously the chin is, I mean, it's granite. But he just takes clean-ass fucking fireballs to the face. And, like, nobody can withstand that.
Yeah.
You just can't. So that was disappointing. But, you live and you learn. The parlays, yes, the efficiency, the percentage that are hitting are not high, but we're getting close on a lot of these, like right there, like obviously the Moutinho Canetti one was just it was just dead on arrival. But, you know, walking away, kind of getting like one, half of it's at least promising enough to where like we're not just like getting 0 out of
No.
3 or anything, and we're just gonna learn, get better over time. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best week, but we've had plenty worse, and I think there's plenty of positive takeaways here that you're gonna see come over for this week. So Dominic, if you may, put us back front and center.
We're back.
Let's talk about the main event money line, Dominic. Alexander Volkov, the number 6 ranked heavyweight in the world, comes in currently now a plus 110 underdog going up against Tom Aspinall, number 11 ranked, minus 130. These odds, along with many others on this card, have been changing rapidly.
Yes.
The days leading up here. Tom Aspinall started as a slight underdog. He has completely flipped into a pretty decent favorite. Do you agree with where the odds stand right now, or did you agree more where we were kind of at the beginning of the week, where Alexander Volkov, the more experienced, the more battle-tested heavyweight, was the slight favorite?
So coming into this fight week, I was actually shocked when Aspinall was an underdog. I thought actually a line like this is what we were going to be seeing from the get-go. Because one thing I've learned as we've done this betting show and as we continue to learn and do these bets and do our research and whatnot on the lines and how they move, is that when a fighter has a lot of hype and momentum behind them, that really can sway these odds. And Aspinall has all of that. He's 100% finish rate. He's 4-0 in the UFC. He's rapidly climbing at a very quick rate. However, he started as, a plus, I think he was upwards to like plus 120 in some places, including DraftKings, which is where we get these odds from. So now that he's back to minus 130, this is where I thought it was going to be to begin with. And I like these odds. Listen, it's a huge test for him. Volkov could be a favorite, and I wouldn't be upset at that. But for me, being an Aspinall fan, I like these odds. And Volkov, again, is a huge test and someone that can now cash at plus money for some people because, as much as I hate to say it, he can easily still win this fight and kind of halt that momentum that Aspinall has.
Yeah, I was very shocked when Aspinall was the underdog. I thought for sure he would be a pretty decent favorite. I understand it, though, but it just seems to kind of go against, like, a lot of it is projecting. We're projecting Tom Aspinall to be a future title challenger, perhaps a title belt holder.
Mm-hmm.
And that means he's got to get past a guy like Alexander Volkov, who, while of the elite at heavyweight, maybe not, or maybe he's the upper echelon, but not quite the elite at heavyweight. So it is a lot of projecting. But, I mean, you look at everything we've seen from Tom Aspinall, and he looks like a complete package. Now, you know, we were, you know, we've been wrong, I guess, with heavyweights before. I mean, you could maybe make an argument we're wrong about Cyril Gahn, where we said he was like the complete package, the future of the heavyweight division, and then Ngannou out wrestled him for
Right.
the majority of the fight. So, you know, you just don't know until these guys really get these big matchups. But Aspinall seems very composed here, very calm, cool, collected, despite the stat you threw out where he hasn't fought up to this point in front of a crowd bigger than 1,000, and it's going to be about 20,000 plus in the O2. So a lot of pressure, but I think he's game for it. And I think these odds right now are pretty perfect for how I evaluate this fight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Let's get on into the pick'em fight of the week. This is the fight that, as we record, have the closest odds on paper. And what a great fight we get to talk about here. The co-main event between Arnold Allen, the number 7 ranked featherweight, going up against Dan Hooker, the number 8 ranked lightweight, moving back down to 145 pounds. You had a very interesting discussion about this on our preview. Yes, we don't focus on the betting lines, but they're there. They're, you know, they obviously can be a part of the discussion. I want to give you a chance to talk about kind of how you, when you looked at these odds, how you evaluated it. Like Arnold Allen, as of now, is I mean, I guess he's slight. I mean, it's basically a pick 'em, but he's a slight underdog, right? Based on that, is that how that works?
He would be the slight favorite.
Or slight favorite, sorry.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell the people kind of what you were saying in the preview, like why that is or why you think that is, because we both kind of agreed. While Arnold Allen, exceptional talent, again, the ceiling to be a title challenger, title holder in this division, we think the best Dan Hooker that we've seen at lightweight is right now slightly better than who Arnold Allen is today. So tell us why we kind of agree with these odds, however.
Yeah, because, you know, it's weird, right? Because Dan Hooker started his career at featherweight, went 3-3, stagnated, moved up to lightweight as a result, found a lot of success early. He stagnated there as well recently, but the competition has been absolutely insane. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Paul Felder, all these guys, you just name it, Islam Makhachev. I mean, it's crazy the guys that he's been fighting. But now he's coming back down again to 145. So it's been like a tale of 3 different segments of his career. But as Noah said, that best version of Dan Hooker that we have seen, if he shows up here, it could very well get a win over Arnold Allen. It could very well put him into title contention just like that in the featherweight division. So Arnold Allen looking to, while yes, he's number 7 in the rankings, he's 8-0 in the UFC, one of the most underrated fighters in the entire organization. He doesn't have that marquee win. So if he gets this, that's going to be the one to finally put him on the radar, even though he should have been on radars of people for a very long time. The odds being this close make plenty of sense. If Dan Hooker was minus 115 and Arnold Allen was minus 105, that would make sense too. This could really go either way on the betting odds. And honestly, no, when they get into the octagon, I don't know what's going to happen.
So true. And I mean, obviously you can say that about any fight, but this one more than any, where 2 guys that have great durability. I mean, Arnold Allen really doesn't get hit a lot. I mean,
he's
like you went to a decision with Sadiq Yusuf, who we know has a lot of power, but Sadiq isn't like a high output striker. And I think that showed in that matchup where Allen kind of won the fight by purely being more active. And it's a credit that he doesn't get hit a lot. But Dan Hooker is very skilled at being able to find those openings. And it's going to be a test that Arnold Allen hasn't faced yet, because Sadiq Yusuf was a good test, but Dan Hooker's just a different fighter. He's going to bring that fight to him and kind of force him to try to get dirty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's been spotless in the UFC, he's been clean as a baby's bottom, right? You know,
right.
But I just think you're hitting the nail on the head when it comes to Dan Hooker. So much unsure about him going back to this division that he stagnated with originally. He is taking it in stride. He seems very confident in this move. He did a whole test cut and everything in preparation. It's just, man, this matchup's so interesting because obviously if Dan Hooker loses here, like he's still got plenty in the tank. He's still young enough, good enough to where, it's not the end of the world. But, he ended his lightweight tenure, on a 2-fight, or no, he lost to Islam, had the win over Nasrat before that, and then had that loss to Michael Chandler before that, along with the loss to Dustin Poirier before that. So I believe he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights, if my estimations are correct. But obviously, you look at those names.
It's insane.
3 of the best guys in the whole division. But this isn't really it's a step back in a way, but I don't know if it really is either, because Arnold Allen might already be that damn good. There's just so much unsure about Dan Hooker and how he's going to look that if I was forced to make a pick, I might slightly edge Arnold Allen, kind of like how these odds say, but ever so slightly. Now let's talk about our dog of the week, Dominic. This is the fighter that is an underdog, again, as it stands today when we're recording. These lines are moving so much.
Oh, it's crazy.
You never know who's going to be an underdog next. However, we each were able to come to one individual apiece. Dominic, I'm going to take mine first. He's barely an underdog. That is Jack Shore, plus 100 on the money line right now. I mean, guys, it's basically a pick'em with Timur Valiev, but the fact that Jack Shore is viewed as the underdog is kind of surprising to me because even though Valiev is a great talent, he showed that in his last fight. I think that fight was against Barcelos, but I can't remember for sure.
He has beaten Barcelos.
And that was an awesome fight, a fight that Barcelos is a guy that's been very respected among the hardcore fans.
Yes.
And Valiev went in there and really took a clean fight to him and really got a lot of people talking. So he's riding pretty high right now, but man, Jack Shore is a guy I've been so high on for so long. It seems inevitable that he is going to make a huge splash in these upper echelon of bantamweights in the future.
Yeah.
But it's a great matchup between these two because they're both young, up-and-comers, trying to fight their way to the top 15, and both kind of need more shine. They're being put on the prelims here, which is fine. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but, these guys are really fighting they want to earn those main card fights. They want to be fighting top contenders here soon. But I think Jack Shore, his wrestling ability, he's looked so spotless.
Yes.
I kind of already said that about Arnold Allen. But in terms of what he's good at, he is so smart at knowing where he needs to get a fight and how to get it there. And I just trust him a little bit more right now than I trust Timur Valiev.
Yeah, I love that analysis. He's an incredibly talented young man. And for my dog of the week, I'm going a little bit with the veteran side of things. Mr. Paul Craig, the math teacher himself, plus 160. We're coming into this fight against Nikita Krylov on a 5-fight unbeaten streak. And the only thing that keeps me from saying a win streak is because he had a freaking draw with Mauricio Shogun.
It was an awesome fight, too.
Awesome fight. But then he gets the big win to finish him when they do the rematch, and he's coming in at plus 160. I was all over this man. I texted Noah this morning. I couldn't believe he was this big of an underdog. I couldn't believe he's not the favorite. I don't know. Maybe I'm not as puzzled as others, but it's puzzling to me. So I had to make Paul Craig my dog of the week. He's a submission ace. Nikita Krylov has shown many vulnerabilities to being submitted in his career. And I just think Paul Craig, at this point in both guys' careers, has the higher ceiling still. He's the older guy. Krylov's been fighting forever, but he's still older than Nikita. But just the skill set, that one thing that he can fall back on sways me more than anything that Krylov has shown me in his career. And for that reason alone, at plus 160, I love him as my dog of the week. And we're going to talk about him and Jack Shore again very shortly.
Yeah, let's go ahead and segue right into that below average bet slip, the moment you've all been waiting for. Me and Dominic, we cook up our picks, we shake and bake, and we get it rolling. Now, me and Dominic both have a lot of similarities in our picks.
Yeah.
Across the board. But we had two that were what the words of
Virtually identical.
yep. Shout out Mike Goldberg.
Shout out.
But I'll take one and you take the other. So we both 2 units will be put on Jack Shore money line plus 100. I mean, you want to rewind and see what I said about him there.
Right.
Apply it here. I just think it's very good value. Even though I don't think Jack Shore should be the underdog, I think the odds should be close either way. So, it is, I guess, risky in that sense, just because I do think Valiev is a very good opponent and does have routes to victory here for sure. I just am so high on Jack Shore, and I believe you are as well, that we couldn't pass up that opportunity to get him. And I don't know if I think you told me this, I don't know if we're ever going to get him at underdog odds ever again.
Yeah, I mean, especially if he comes in and can be Valiev here in convincing fashion. Listen, he's 15-0, and he's looked so well-rounded, so complete, so intelligent. His fight IQ second to none. How can you not take a guy like that when they're at plus odds?
So, yeah, he doesn't take any damage either.
Yeah.
And Valiev, that's kind of what he thrives on. Is like, that war he had with Barcelos was great, but it's just going to be interesting when these two styles come together, because Shore is very composed. He's very high IQ. He really knows where to get the fight to where he needs to get it and not take a lot of damage doing so. It's not always the most exciting, but it's smart, and it's going to make his career trajectory even longer than it is already.
Yeah, absolutely, man. When I think of the new wave of fighters, Jack Shore is a guy on that list, and another guy on that list is the other guy that we're putting 2 units on, and that is Tom Aspinall. He's in the main event against Alexander Volkov. The line moved like crazy, as we already talked about earlier. We got in on this with Aspinall at minus 120, so he's currently now at minus 130, so we got a little bit more value out of it. We didn't get him when he was at the underdog status. We would have had to get in pretty early to get that. But listen, Tom Aspinall, for me personally, especially, I've remember watching him the first time he stepped foot in the octagon and knowing I was witnessing something special, and it's gotten even more so for the 3 fights following suit. He's 4-0 in the UFC, 4 finishes, 3 in the first round. He's beaten, Andrei Arlovsky. He's beaten Shamil Abdurrahimov. This is his biggest test. I understand that Volkov is a legitimate threat, but Aspinall is in his prime, and he just looks better and better each time I see him. I think he's more of a well-rounded fighter. You get to see his boxing skill set in this 4 UFC fights that he's had. He did submit Arlovsky, though, I think, right? Did he submit Andre?
Yes, he did.
So Volkov, while being the longer guy, the bigger guy, 6'7", he's a great striker. He's got great kicks. I just think all around, when you look at all parts of this fight, Aspinall kind of edges him in each category. I think this is his moment to shine, headlining in London, and I think he gets it done.
I like it. You couldn't said it any better myself. I'll take my next single here, or not single, but for that main event. This is the one that I put it in last night. That's when I put like half these bets in, and then finished up this morning with the other half. And this main event, I really liked this at the time. I'm a little skeptical now, but for that main event, Aspinall Volkov to go over 3.5 rounds. When I evaluate this fight, Tom Aspinall is a hammer. And I mean, again, so well-rounded that he does have an ability to get this fight over pretty quickly. But if this fight is fought at a predominant kickboxing range, I think that Volkov will have the durability and the skill to extend this fight much longer. And, as good as Aspinall has shown to be on the ground, which I know was kind of a question there for a while, but he's shown to be very good there already. I don't know if he's good enough to necessarily get that finish if the fight goes there, even though that might be his best route to a clean victory. So when I kind of say that, it kind of makes me confident in it again. But, Aspinall has a lot of first-round finishes and early second-round finishes. And, Volkov clearly has been the marathon man before. He's been doing it for a while. He's had a lot of main events go 5 rounds. But, again, we're siding with Aspinall, so it's a little risky because you would almost lean towards the victory being done in the way Aspinall tends to do them.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's risky, but there is potential there, and especially too,
Oh, it
like
was minus 115, by the way. That's when I got it, anyways.
minus 115. And you know how I am sometimes. I just like when, especially with these newer guys that I see potential in, you want to see him be tested eventually, right? And this
Mhm.
could be kind of what we see. So if it does go into that third round, the fourth round, the fifth round, and Aspinall can still win, that's going to tell us even more so than maybe what a quick finish would.
I agree. Now, what's your next one?
So my third and final single is another money line. By the way, I had to point this out. Up until this point, we've had six. How many nosebleeds have we have? I don't remember. 8 or
Every
something.
card in
Yeah.
2022. So
However many cards there's been this year. Anyways, the point being, I've had 3 money line plays that entirety of the show so far. I have 3 money line plays alone in this fight night here at
says a lot.
UFC London.
Says a lot.
Yes. And the third one goes to Mr. Paul Craig, my dog of the week, plus 160. I already said everything. My spoke my piece about him. And I just think anywhere that this fight goes, I'm just leaning with Craig. Even if it's on the feet, like I know there's danger there. But the thing is, he's not gonna risk it. I feel like he's gonna know what he needs to do, and Krylov's shown the weaknesses that he's gonna look for to do it. And I think Paul Craig could easily get the finish, but at the end of the day, regardless, I think he gets the win at plus 160. There was no way I wasn't going to take that with the momentum that he's been riding.
Yeah, well said. Now for my parlays, I got 3 of them again. I haven't learned my lesson, but I am trying to be smarter about what I put in here. Let's start with the money line parlay. This is 3 legs. This is the parlay that has tended to work for me so far. Is doing like the heavy favorites money line parlays. Minus 115. So not the best odds for a 3-leg parlay, but that's what you get with heavy favorites. Muhammad Mohayev, our opening bout. I think this guy, this 21-year-old stud from Dagestan, the wrestler, he has looked phenomenal up to this point. He seems like he's going to be a stud in this flyweight division. Cody Durden, coming off a good win, but talked some trash in the aftermath that pissed off a lot of people, including Muhammad Mohayev, who requested this fight specifically. I think it's a very tough matchup for Cody Durden, if I'm being honest, and Mohayev having that added motivation will only benefit him. Second leg, Ilya Tuporia. Jai Herbert is going to be game here. His striking, phenomenal. He has looked better and better each time out in the octagon, coming off a great win. But Ilya Tuporia, I think, is so much more well-rounded, more methods to victory, and is a good striker on his own. So I could see Tuporia winning this fight a numerous number of ways. Have a hard time believing that Jai Herbert's going to be able to stop him. And finally, the third leg, Paddy Pimblett. I've said some things that might make you think I'm not the biggest Paddy Pimblett fan, which is not the case. But I've not necessarily been riding the wave. I've not been on the bus. I've not been on the hype train, whatever you want to call it. I think he still has a lot of tooling he needs to do in his game before he's going to be ready to sniff like top 15. However, I think against Kazula Vargas, I think it's a good matchup for him. I think that's the intention here.
Mm-hmm.
Vargas, much like Luigi Venramini, people are going to expect him to just get slaughtered, and maybe it will be another first round finish, but Vargas may just he may make it a fight like Luigi did as well. So you never know. But I do think Paddy Pimblett, I don't think he's gonna falter here at the O2. I really don't. This guy, his star power is rising fast and so quickly. He's clearly the attraction on this card. I think he's going to shine bright here and get the win. So all 3 of those came to minus 115. Not plus odds, but again, I think with those 3 picks, you can understand why.
Yeah, for sure. And my first of 2 parlays relates heavily to what you just said, Noah, because I have a 2-leg parlay here. It comes out to plus 126 is the final odds. Had to turn my brightness up there. For the first leg, it's Ilya Topuria. I have him to win by finish alongside Paddy Pimblett to win by finish. So the best friends parlay is what I'm going to call this one because of what was going on this week with those 2. I mean, Topuria, listen, he's finished 10 out of 11. Herbert has lost all 3 of his fights via stoppage. Paddy's finished 13 out of 17, including 3 in a row. in the first round, and Vargas has lost 3 of his 4 via stoppage. So I think these 2 young studs have so much momentum. I think they're very well rounded, and I think the matchups they have, while hard, are still favorable for both. Put those 2 together to get finishes plus 126.
My second parlay plus 116, 2 legs. First leg is Ilia Tuporia via finish. Pretty clear why. Like everything we've already said about Ilia Tuporia. I mean, I know this can get a little boring, I guess, because a lot of the same names are coming up. But guys, there's so much value on these people.
Yeah.
And you get parlays going, and you get some interesting odds. So Ilia Tuporia by finish. I just think that, again, the methods to victory. While Jai Herbert is a good opponent and probably overlooked in some ways in this matchup, I do think, though, that Tuporia has a clear stop. Like the finish, I think, is inevitable for this fight either way. But I ended up going with Tuporia. I'm confident enough he'll get the win. Second leg, co-main event, Alan Hooker. I had to put something on this. I'm so unsure
You're
about
ballsy.
this fight, but I had to put something on this fight. Because I'm so excited for it. I'm going over 2.5 rounds. I'm putting money on the Hangman to look somewhat of himself at 145 pounds. I think the durability will be there for both guys, even if Dan Hooker comes in somewhat compromised. Arnold Allen, I'm not sure, is going to push that. It's a bit like when, in a way, like kind of how I talked about our main event last week, where Ankalaev, I thought probably could have finished Thiago Santos if he really pushed it, but at risk of running into a hammer.
Right.
And here it's somewhat similar. I just think that Arnold Allen is a smarter fighter than to really get into a firefight and,
Put
leave
himself
himself
in
exposed.
danger.
Yeah. He hasn't done that at all really through his UFC career. I don't see it happening now, even though Dan Hooker is down for a scrap. But I think this will end up being a very fun fight. Dan Hooker will try to bring the fight to him, and I think he will have some success. But regardless of how the victory goes, I think you see at best a late finish, if not a decision here. Over 2.5 rounds was the ultimate play that I went with. Comes out to plus 116.
I like that one, man. Yeah, I always talk about how you have kahunas on some of these plays, and that one right there is just another example of it. My 5th and final bet, which being the second parlay, it's a 3-legger. It comes out to plus 147. I really like this one. So the first leg being Corey McKenna and Elise Reed over 2.5 rounds. I took over 2.5 rounds because at the time that this was placed, the to go the distance was not available yet, but basically my head is with McKenna decision, if I'm being honest. But anyway, that's at over 2.5 rounds. I see McKenna. I'm very high on her. She trains with Uriah Faber and them out there at Team Alpha Male. I like what I've seen. She was on Contender Series. I don't see a finish coming, but I see her peppering away, picking her shots for 3 straight rounds. Second leg is Molly McCann and Luana Carolina to go the distance. McCann, while she's usually in fun fights, the facts are this: 6 in a row have went the distance. And for Carolina, 3 out of 4 UFC fights have went the distance, and her fight on the Contender Series went the distance. I think it can be a very fun fight, though. And then last but not least, one that is not going to go the distance. I've got Gunnar Nelson in his return fight, first time in 2.5 years, going up against Takashi Sato, his first fight in 1.5 years, to not go the distance. Nelson's finished 16 out of 17, tons of submissions on his record, and Sato's finished 13 out of 15. And when he loses, he gets finished. So I think that's going to be a really fun scrap regardless for those 2 guys. Put all 3 of those together into the crock pot, plus 147.
Yeah, and I have a very similar last one here, so I'll keep this short. Plus 130. I was able to do McKenna Reed fight does go to distance as the first leg. I do have Molly McCann, Luana Carolina. That's a throwback.
Yes, it is.
I do have that to also go to distance. And then the third leg, I'm going with Patty Pimblett, Kazula Vargas to not go to distance. So I've said everything, and you've said, and you filled in the blanks there with those 2 women's fights. I mean, copy paste, and Patty Pimblett again. I could see. I mean, it would be a shocker for sure. But Kazula Vargas, if Paddy Pimblett leaves his chin up like he tends to do, and that's what got cracked against Vin Ramini, I mean, there is a route to victory here for Kazula Vargas. Do not, don't get me wrong. I don't see it happening, but no matter what, no matter who wins, fight does not go to distance.
There it is.
That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Nosebleeds. Let us know what plays you're placing this week. What do you think of our picks? Are you thinking we're way off? Are we undervaluing, overvaluing? Let us know.
You riding with us on any of them? Let us know too.
Yeah, so I guess we will sign off with letting people know where they can find us on social media, since, of course, I forgot to do it in the intro. So go ahead, Dom.
Hey, we keep it a surprise. Intro, outro, in the middle, it don't matter. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Diesely14. More importantly, as you can see below, because you're watching on YouTube, you can find the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at BAJ_MMA podcast.
Yeah, so thanks for bearing with me for these next couple episodes. It'll be back to normal. I mean, hopefully it's not too off for you guys audio-wise, not having the little doodads on here, but I digress. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, at ntbaker_. The link in my bio on both of those being links to the link tree, which provides you with links to platforms such as the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. There's also a couple links on there for the podcast sponsor, Anchor, such as leaving a voice message, which you can still do, and we would feature on here. So again, a link on there. And there's a link if you want to become a financial supporter of the podcast. We do appreciate any and all support, but you have the choice to do so if you would like. But that's going to wrap it up, Dominic. We will be back next Friday. Until then, take care.